It was a good day for making out when I took the train from Amsterdam to Berlin. 6 hours later, at 21:10, it arrived at its destination on schedule. The speakers declared, "This train is going to terminate here." It seemed like a very poor choice of words for the Deutsche Bahn. I was to stay at Sid's friend, Yvonne. "She has a cozy place in Friedrichshain," he said to me earlier, "and she'll treat you well." I was a bit suspicious at first. I mean, the idea of Sid keeping contact with any girl he is not currently having it off with seems very fishy, to say the least. Typically, if things turn out well, by the time Sid's done with them, most girls want nothing more to do with him. More often, however, the departure is better defined in terms of brutality, venom, and rancor. One had to wonder what was it about this girl that made this possible. "You do realize I am on vacation, right? I don't want to take any crap from your ex-lovers for whatever mess you left behind you." Given Sid's last episode with Iris, this was a very reasonable conclusion. "Don't you worry, she's a gem, that one. She lives in a realm other than ours, you'll see. And we didn't get that far anyway, so there's no reason for concern." He paused briefly, then continued in an undertone, "To be perfectly honest, things between us didn't take their usual course. With her, sex seemed like such a waste of time. I can't really peg the reason for that, but in any case," his voice returned to its usual derisive tone, "for all I know, she has nothing to be crossed about. Besides, what other choice have you got?" I gave it some thought. Sid is definitely short-handed when it comes to understanding women's goals towards him. Still, my list of acquaintances in Berlin amounted to a girlless and overly extroverted gay couple and a former lover who is now living with a stout Russian called Dmitri. It wasn't such a hard call to make. Yvonne was waiting on the platform when I got off at the final stop, Berlin HBF. She was in a long brown coat and her head protruded out of its furry hood. Her eyes were shiny and liquescent and her arms stretched out towards me. She embraced me tightly and then took a step back. "I am so wasted," was the first thing out of her. We took a taxi to her place, and on the way there she did most of the talking. "You look exactly like in the photo Sid sent me. That's fortunate. I'd hate having to go around shouting your name. It's Routem, right? Shit. That rings kinda hard in a German ear. How about we just call you Lutz?" When the taxi pulled over, I reached for my wallet. She promptly pinned my arm down. "Don't be silly, you're my guest now. And besides, I got out of that party with somebody else's money." She took out a €20 bill and paid the driver. I wanted to take him home with me, but his ex-girl was there and he got confused. "Well, that will give him something to remember me by. Anyhow, I live on the 7th floor," she said as the taxi drove away. "There's no elevator though. You'll be alright. Right, Lutz?" I was beginning to see what Sid had meant. It seemed as if Yvonne was living in perpetual twilight, where normalities do not apply. Every line out of her was an invitation to an out-of-the-ordinary experience. Every gesture, a graceful annihilation of the expected form of behavior. I had just experienced a week of traditional Dutch formality, and if I was going to keep up with her, I'd have to step out of myself to transform. Yvonne shared her 2-room flat with a French guy. "He's got a new girl now, so he's mostly gone," she said. "Make yourself at home." Her room was medium-sized with orange walls and a tall ceiling. As we entered it, she took off her clothes insouciantly, leaving nothing but her pink undies on, and sprawled belly down on the double mattress. I was beginning to feel my cock. Looking at her rump, with the rebirth of my sexuality, I realized I was out of my league. The embodiment of continuous instant transfiguration was lying passed out in front of me, and the only course of action I could fathom was being the beast and mounting her. I could not escape the frame set of my mind, and for the first time ever I was hard and dumbfounded at the same time. There had to be some other possibility which was not as predictable, not as warranted by the circumstances. A redeeming venture. I looked around. There was a clock above the mattress, but the battery was dead. The hour hand and the minute hand were set on 12. It made no sense, and immediately after it made perfect sense. Anyway you looked at it, it was time. פעם ראשונה שאני קורא טקסט.